It looks good. Does the mic look okay here in the shot? Does it look good? Every time I look at
Yeah, I
this,
think it
I'm
looks
I'm
good.
always like, it kind of looks like one of those ice cream sandwiches, you know?
It totally does. It looks like an ice cream Sammy, dude. I'm a big fan of ice cream Sammys, though. They're
So
fucking
ice
delicious.
cream sandwiches are good, but I think the best are when you get the ice cream sandwiches that are two cookies
You just said the fucking cookie.
and
I
then they
hate
have
the
the
cookie,
chocolate
dude.
chips around, dude.
Ah,
They're the best.
I hate the cookie so
What? You're
much.
so
I like.
fucking
Here's the
wrong.
thing. You just haven't had the best ice cream sandwich. I'm
All
gonna be
right.
real with you here. Okay, so you got Walmart's in
I
fucking
do.
in Gatorland, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what you got to do? You got to go to Walmart and you got to get the Walmart brand ice cream sandwich. It's fucking delicious. It's seriously the best ice cream sandwich I've ever had. But here's the thing. The first few out of the box, not good. They're not good. But like when it's because
Are
I
you
feel
eating
like
them
there's
all at
something weird
once?
with
Are you...
well, it's okay, so it's like the first few out of the box are still weird because of like the Walmart freezers versus your home freezer. Totally different. It fucking changes
Mm.
shit up.
So
And
what
then
you're
when you
saying, you
take
have
it
to
out,
age them like a fine wine.
exactly. Yeah, it ages like a fine wine, and so you let it sit for a second just so it gets nice and like it thaws a bit. It's a little bit melty. Fucking delicious, dude. Best ice cream sandwich I've ever had, hands down.
Oh my
The cookies
goodness.
fucking blow. I hate the cookies.
No, you're
I gotta
so
be real
wrong.
with you.
You're so wrong, dude. The cookies are
They
so
bother me
good.
so much.
You're
Like
so weird.
is it
I'm
okay?
done. You know what?
I don't,
This
I
podcast is
don't like
over. I
ice
can't do
cream
this
that
with you
much.
anymore. You don't like get the fuck out of here. What are we
No,
doing?
I'm not saying that I don't like ice cream in general. I just don't like it that much. Like it's not my
Mm,
favorite dessert of all time. You know what I mean? Like
mm,
I I would eat some ice creams. You know what really pisses me off though? When you go to like a buffet or something and they have a soft serve machine, but it's really
mm.
like one of
It's
those
just frozen
shitty ones
yogurt.
that's basically just a shitload of ice cubes. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like frozen yogurt and you taste it and it's all grainy and shit like that. I'm like,
yeah.
you just like you ruined soft serve for me. You
I
just
mean,
ruined my whole fucking eating experience
look, if you're
in your
going
establishment.
to a buffet, you're not there for quality, all right? There's very
You
few
got me.
buffets that are out there where you're like, this is the top notch. It's like we're all here to just stuff our face. Like
Dude,
there's
yeah,
no like
even those that are like nice places, like there's a place called Tucanos, and it's like it's got like a buffet section. It's essentially a salad bar, but it has a little bit
yeah.
extra.
Uh-huh.
And they otherwise it's like it's I guess supposedly like native Brazilian cuisine, which is kind of cool. I
It's
don't
like a Brazilian
actually know.
steakhouse kind of thing.
Kind of, yeah, but it's they will bring like miscellaneous things to your table and you have this little block that's just like, okay, we want a bunch of things. So they'll just come around with like
Yep.
stuff on skewers and be like, you want
Yeah.
this? You take it. You want this? You
Yeah.
take it. Kind of shit like that.
I love those
And
places.
then they have just like a salad bar in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
center.
yeah.
And it's like that's supposed to be like a good buffet, but really it's just dog shit. It's not good.
I have a story that is very much this feels like a Vaughn ass thing to do. Because anytime I think of like cuisine, I think of you going to a place and being like, "Excuse me, sir, I'd like to order
you
your
have
finest
chicken
chicken tenders." And be like, "Sir, this is a steakhouse." He's like, "Yes, but I want the chicken." But this is very
No, I
much.
do that.
I know it very much feels like it because I go to this place called Texas de Brazil. We haven't been in a long time, but my wife loves it because she just loves steak, like any type of meat. She's like all down for it, and she loves that place because they just keep coming to your table, keep giving you steak, all different types of meats, different types of cuts. And I go there because I love it. Because I'll go to the like salad bar area and there's like these cheesy potatoes. And so I just fill the fuck up on that. Like,
Dude, fucking same, bro. No, this Tucano's place has that same shit. They got cheesy potatoes and they got these awesome rolls. Yeah, okay. It's like there are those few restaurants that you go to for your significant other. It's not for you.
oh yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's
And,
definitely
like,
that.
100%, yeah. Because my wife sometimes will want to go to Tucano's and stuff like that. And I'm like, bruh,
Bruh.
There's so much stuff I don't like. Like they'll give you a chicken heart, by the way. I've eaten that once, but I ate it once because I think my dad said he'd give me like $50 if I did.
Oh, that's pretty good.
I don't think he did. I don't think he did.
That's lame.
He lied to me. I got.
Yeah, I feel like I could eat it if I didn't know what it was, right? It's the idea, it's that concept of like I'm eating a heart that I'm like I'm not okay with.
It's like a little red oval. Like you're like, what is it? And there's like, you know what? I hate. Okay, there's this thing every time when somebody knows you're about to eat something sketchy and you're not gonna like it,
for sure.
Where you ask what it is, and they act like they're in some sort of fucking secret society that refuses to tell anybody anything. Like it's some straight up hot fuzz shit where you're just like trying to.
Don't worry about it. Just eat it.
Trying to detect these mysteries, and they're just like, oh, it's normal.
It's just chicken. It's chicken.
It's just stuff.
Yeah,
like, it's chicken.
It's just chicken.
And like I had this friend in high school. Her name's Elaine. She's a great artist. And we'd go to her birthday parties and she would have these like really interesting dishes. And she would do that thing where she would be like, just like eat it.
Just eat it.
Just eat it.
Just put it in your mouth.
And I'd be like, bro, that straight up looks like mud. I'm not gonna eat that. And then it turned out it was like it was like blood or something like that. Like it was a really like it was like a crazy thing, and I was like, what? You trying to make me eat that?
I'm like, no.
Like it was always awesome though. She's a fantastic person. But yeah, she always tried to dupe me into eating this blood, dude. And I'm like, no.
Damn, dude.
It's not gonna happen.
All right.
Not even a little bit. Hello and welcome to Indie Pod, an indie games podcast, your weekly source for all the indie games news you need to know. This week, we are bringing you a grand total of 2 indie game news stories before, of course, we hop into News Cram, God Bless the Crowd, and your listener questions. But before we do any of that, I would like to introduce myself, Vaughn Hyde, alongside my illustrious co-host, the biggest of average, Josh Boys. How you doing today, Big Josh Boy?
I'm doing well. I'm glad that I'm in the nice, comfy lean back
chair
and do nothing chair. It's nice to be back. I think I did okay though. I mean, granted, the audio got fucked up on our guest side, but I think it was a good episode. I think it was still run well, you know? What are you gonna do?
I mean, the funniest thing about it, while editing, it took me a while to try to fuck around with the echo thing, which I'm sorry that happened. It sucks.
It's a shame.
It's just tech issues and stuff like that. Luckily it hasn't happened to us all that often.
Right.
But like shit happens. So
yeah,
whatever. It's not a big deal.
The main issue was that Josh had not, like, for Active Quest they do only audio podcasts. So like Josh, I had to walk
OBS
Josh
is
through.
hard to deal with.
Yeah, they had to get like a specific laptop, like not even the one that they usually use for it, and then had to download OBS, and like I guess something got messed up. Who knows? It happens.
Yeah, it's all kind of annoying. I don't blame him in the slightest. It's whatever. It's not a big deal. People said that they like eventually just forgot that it was there, which is kind of nice. So
my favorite
really
comment was that. Zach's basically saying, "Oh, I thought I was doing shrooms at one point."
I thought I was hallucinating. Yeah. Exactly. But I really loved that you started it off being like, I got to do this like Vaughn, and then did the weirdest voice ever. And then you were like, I don't know why, but you did this thing where you were like, ah! What?
Are you kidding?
I mean, maybe it's something I do, but I just never noticed.
You make that noise. Yes, you do like a, like sometimes.
Huh.
I don't
think I've ever noticed that.
I'm going to pay attention to it. And the next time it comes up, I'm going to be like, motherfucker, that's it.
Okay. All right. If you haven't noticed, this is my new setup. I have moved into my house.
How's the new place?
That's why it might sound a little bit echoey because we got like the laminate floors. I don't have everything out yet. I'm slowly unpacking. You can actually see a tote like right behind me with just like miscellaneous shit in there. So I'm getting to it, but slowly but surely, because there's the life outside of unpacking our house. But
it's true.
Dude, okay, Yeah, there's like some crippling anxiety with having a house, and
I know. Welcome to my life.
I never guessed. Yeah, we like on our first, I think it was like our first night, maybe our second, we tried to do laundry in our new washer and dryer, which is like, it was like a hand-me-down washer and dryer that somebody gave us.
Right.
Because we had already bought so many appliances that we were like, oh, why not save money on this one?
For sure.
And it just like started leaking, and we were like, what the fuck? And seriously, I thought I was going to die. I thought I was going to have a heart attack or something. Like, it's the sketchiest thing.
It's one of those things where it's not the end of the world, but it feels in the moment so exhausting because you're like, because there's no one you call. It's like, oh, this is my problem. Like there's no I live in an apartment and I call up the office and be like, hey, someone needs to come and fix this. And it's like, now you would call yourself and you'd be like, you need to fix this. And then you'd be like, oh, fuck. And then you have to fix it yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's the thing is like, I'm not a resourceful person, you know? And I was just like, okay, I guess we'll just tighten these knobs and see what happens. It ended up like being fine. We just tightened it. It was good.
Vaughn, like, the knob tightener. I love
exactly. Like it was solid. We got it done. But yeah, it seriously sketched me out. But new house, fucking amazing. I'm so glad that we got this one. We had to like, okay, so the reason I had to take like the entire weekend off and didn't do the podcast was because we had to paint several rooms.
Oof,
and
that's hard work.
Yeah, I just wanted to kill myself. I'm gonna be honest. Like this whole room was pink, by the way.
Nice.
This is like a hardcore pink.
Oh, well, you
like
did pretty good then. Yeah, because you wouldn't be able to tell.
Yeah, we put some primer on the walls and like then we painted it like a gray, and then I have a wall here like right next to me. It's actually like a light green, and I really really enjoy it. I'm loving this house so much. But
that's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm
excited to be back. I'm happy to be back doing the indie pod. It's gonna be fun. So of course this is a podcast about indie games. Before we get into what we're playing, I did want to go through our housekeeping. Please check out our developer interview with Blasted Realm about their game called Rise of the Betrayer. Do you remember this interview, Josh? Anything about it?
Yeah, it's a pretty cool looking game. It reminds me a lot of Terraria, but with much better combat. Like it's
because it's like a Metroidvania, right?
Yeah, so it's very much a Metroidvania in the sense that you can go kind of anywhere, but you have to find the resources to do so. So it's like you're crafting to get to different areas, crafting to make different weapons. You're fighting these giant bosses, and there is some emphasis on dialogue and like making certain choices, because there are a couple endings. I think it was like 2 or 3. I can't remember now. It's been a while since I did the interview, but the game looks really fun. I'm very much looking forward to it because I really enjoyed Terraria, but the combat was kind of like lackluster in certain ways, which this just looks like a more refined version of it. So seems good.
All right, that sounds really interesting. I'm excited to hear it. I feel bad. Like I feel like it sounds really bad when I say, "Do you remember anything about this interview?"
I mean, yeah,
but it's just like because sometimes you do them months in advance.
Yeah,
like it's just like it happens. So I never mean that as a mean thing or derogatory thing for everyone's edification. It's literally just because sometimes the time before these air is a while. Because we have, like, Josh is good enough with them to keep them, like, basically
queued up.
He's got them on deck. So
yeah, I just did one yesterday that won't go out until July. Like,
holy shit.
Like it's just,
oh my god,
I feel bad too because sometimes developers will reach out and I'll be like, yeah, I'd love to talk to you about your game, and they're like, cool, it's coming out tomorrow, is that good? And I'm like, no. Like it sucks because I want to do it, but I'm like, these other people are in line. Like I don't know, it's one of those things where there's a part of me that, you okay, what happened, what's going on there?
I saw something like move like a shadow and I was like,
yeah, I just saw you
me right now.
I saw you shifty eyes, and I was like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah, because I swear to God, I just saw something out of the corner of my eye, and I didn't know what it was.
Oh my goodness! No, but I was gonna say it's one of those things where I feel bad, and like part of me wants to do a hard reset of just like no more interviews for a while, but then at the same time I'm like, well, I don't want to screw up and then not get any. And us not have a week where one of those goes live. So it's like, it's a weird thing to kind of teeter totter around, but whatever. I remember some of it.
I feel like eventually we'll find a better way to do it, but I really love the developer interviews, and a lot of people I feel like learn about games from them that they never would have known about before. So
I've learned so much from doing this.
Exactly. Like there's some crazy shit in there. Like there are several games that I've seen because you've done this that I'm like, never would have noticed this.
Yeah, right.
And that's not like, I'm not saying that they're not good games. None of that is not meant to be a negative thing. It's mostly just because like discoverability is really difficult in today's day and age, especially with indie games because there's so many. So it's like, there are millions of indie games that I'll never know about, especially between like Steam and itch.io and other places. Yeah. It's fucking impossible.
There's a lot going on. It's too much.
Yeah, shit's crazy. Please check out our IndiePod store over at Teespring for t-shirts and stickers. I'm already moved into our house and everything, so I'm thinking I'm gonna go get a different artist because their commission, the one I wanted, their commissions are still closed right now. So I'm gonna get a different artist. We're gonna get some new merch in there. Plus, we've got the awesome IndiePod logo that Chase made for us that I'm gonna be making some t-shirts and stuff from as well. So we're gonna have some new merch up there. And of course, if you're a patron, you get I believe at the $3 tier or higher you get 20% off, or that's $5 tier, but you get a percentage off of our merch. So hey, why not actually use it? It's cheap anyway. Whatever. Why not? Please head over to the IndiePod YouTube channel and subscribe over there for these video episodes. Leave us a review on any sort of platform in which you could do so. Specifically, iTunes helps us out a bunch. Supposedly, I don't know.
Maybe it does. Who knows?
Yeah. I have no idea.
We don't know.
And lastly, thank you so much to all of our amazing patrons at the $3 tier or higher. But overall, anybody who gives us any amount of money is fantastic. I'll kiss you on the mouth one day. So John, it's just John.
It's just John.
Yeah, it's just John. We'll see Mixamatosis, aka Mix, Zach Durham, Chase Hopkins, Phil Pritchard, the Wombat from Australia, Chris Penwell, I was drinking tea, Josh Nichols, aka Active Josh, and Sam Fillion from Canada. Oh, dude, I don't know if you knew this, but apparently, so there's like the joke going around that once we reach a Patreon tier, I'm gonna send butt pics.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been floating around, and I brought it up on my stream as a joke last night, and Chris is like, please don't do that. If you do that, I will rescind stop my Patreon. Yeah, I was like, bruh, you don't want these thick cheeks? What are you doing? I think it also happened because I was like, yeah, but I'll wear something that is definitely not flattering for my nutsack. So it's like...
I like it.
Give her that ram, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's called The Goat. Waiting. Have you ever seen that movie Waiting?
Yeah.
With Ryan Reynolds? Mm-hmm. Does not age well.
I'm sure it doesn't. A lot of movies do not, especially from that era.
Yeah. It's like it's really interesting, and I loved that. Granted, this is me just like reading a headline, I think, or just like some offshoot shit. But I loved that. Apparently, Seth Rogen was just like, comedians need to stop bitching about comedy. You need to just be okay with the fact that some jokes don't age well.
Yeah.
Like it's fine. And yeah, watching some of these like older comedy movies, you're like, this is fucked up.
Yeah. I mean, it's rooted in a time where that was deemed acceptable.
Sexual assault was fine.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, it's fucked up, but like that's the thing, is at a certain point it wasn't. But I think it's weird. So I get it. Like, I think we should be in a point where we're like, where society can say like, that's fucked up now. Right. Mm-hmm. I don't agree that we should be like, they did a thing that was bad a long time ago. Let's fucking get them now. And it's like, what? But they're not doing anything about it now. Like, what?
Yeah. I mean, it's something that I did learn in my most recent sociology course, is that you have to take so many factors into when you're like, well, really, you shouldn't judge things outside of your own culture and your own period of time.
Right, for sure.
Because cultural norms are completely different everywhere, and different points in time mean that your culture is drastically different. Just think of what America was like in the 2000s versus or in the early 2000s versus right now. I would say it's drastically different and hopefully getting better, but of course there is some things.
Because the difference is like, are they doing it actively right now? Then it's a problem, right? Like, I don't subscribe to the idea of being like, Granny, you're real old and you were in a different time, so you get to say the N word. Like, that's not the thing. Like, that's wrong.
So uncomfortable.
Yeah. Oh, super uncomfortable. But like, that is obviously wrong because they're doing it in the moment. They're doing it now. But like, you can't stop them from what was a thing back then, right? Like, it's fucked up, but like, what are you gonna...
I mean, granted, like, the elderly are definitely just like, dude, I'm on my way out. Do you think I give a shit of what society thinks of me right now?
Sometimes they need to chill. So that is 100% true.
Yeah, they need to turn on the chill, bro. It's fucking insane what old people say. But we're just gonna move on from that. Big Josh Boy, you're playing Biomutant by Experiment 101. I'm actually really interested to hear your thoughts on this because it's very polarized.
Oh, it's so mixed. And I think I think it makes sense that it's mixed because this is a game that I think if it was done a little bit differently, I think it would have been like my 10 out of 10. Like, I love this game. Like, this is great. So let me start with, I'm having a blast with this game. Like, I do enjoy it a lot, but I'm also going to shit on it in many ways because I'm upset with certain choices that they took that I think could have made this a lot better. So let me start out with Biomutant is basically a great mashup of what you would think of for Fallout and Fable. The idea is you're this mutated character, this creature who lives in a world of all these anthropomorphic, I fucking said it right this time, animals who are these mutated beings. And there's this war against these two different clans. And you're put in this struggle of you have to choose which clan to side with. And then the overarching issue is these things called the World Eaters, which are these big monsters that are destroying something called the Tree of Life. And so that's essentially where life comes from, they say. I haven't gotten to what that really is or, too much into it. I've played about probably like anywhere from 10 to 12 hours so far of this game.
Oh, damn. For seemingly being a big driving force in the narrative, you'd think they'd reveal at that point what the fuck the Tree of Life is.
It also might be that I'm just not fucking paying attention because you know how I just kind of blow through things.
Yeah, that happens. You're much more focused on the gameplay, which is, from the videos I've seen, it actually does have some really interesting gameplay.
And like, I do really enjoy the story because the idea is as you're going through, you're learning more about the past and kind of what happened. And it's clearly an indication that they're taking inspiration from it being our world, as in, normal, like Earth. And we basically screwed up somehow and created this toxic mutation where, Earth became extinct in what we think of it today. And these mutated creatures came to be.
The marsupials took over the world.
Yeah, exactly. And so it'll give you, as you're like going through different areas, like these broken down buildings and these, these bunkers and things like that, you'll find little like nuggets of history in it. And I think it's really cool. Now, where it kind of runs out is as far as like Steam. It's way too bloated in many ways and way too just empty in others. So what I mean by that is when you're talking about the world is huge. It's got like a really expansive area. There's so much to run around in. There's, waypoints and little things that help you fast travel through the world once you discover them, which is good. And by the way, I didn't realize at first, but I love the way the waypoints work as far as when you find them. You literally pee on them like an animal to mark your territory so that you then have that territory, which I think is so, it's so cutesy. And I didn't notice at first. I was like, what is this neon yellow stuff on the bottom here? And then I was like, oh, I see. I'm pissing on it. But I also hate it because I think that they should have taken a page out of Fallout, which is when you are moving through this giant world and you're trying to look for this tiny stick in the middle of nowhere. It's so frustrating. Just give me the waypoint when I'm in the area and I've explored to it. Stop this nonsense of having to find this little needle in a haystack all the time. I hate it. There's so many things in this game where there's like little events or little puzzles to do, but they're all kind of the same. And it's like this thing where you like twist knobs and that's it. And then they're like, good, you did it. And then they give you like an item, or sometimes nothing. And there's like a quest, and it's like, oh, look, a telephone booth. And it's like, this is a blink blop, or whatever they call it, weird names, which is like, it's cutesy and, you know, whatever, but it's the same thing. You go over to it, you twist some knobs, and then you're like, oh, puzzle complete. And you're like, great. And they're like the easiest puzzles. So it's like something that just doesn't really add value. And those are, aside from that, and then boxes and random enemies, those are really the only big things that you keep continually seeing throughout this world. So there's a lot of like little shrines or things like that, but there's not much. You're like walking through this giant area, and it'll be very rare that you find something that's interesting, like a new character to talk to, or this like quest line that you have to go through. You don't really get too much. Like, I just feel like the area is so big and it's such a beautiful world to walk in, but there's just not enough to really like I loved Fallout for things like there would just be little scenes or objects that were tucked around. There was a lot of incentive to explore and to really kind of look through these objects, but I just don't feel that as much with this game. Let's go to combat though, because combat is something that I think is really well done, but not at the start. And what I mean by that is progression sucks in this game. Like, just sucks. You level up, and there's so many things about this. Like, this is an RPG on steroids, where there's so many things where I'm like, you could have definitely scaled this in a way that was like more meaningful, where I just don't know half the time what anything does, and I'm just going through it, and then I figure out, and I'm like, I've wasted a lot of time and points and resources into this. Good stuff.
I don't even want to use this.
Like, yeah, sweet. and so you have these things called I think it's Wung Fu or Kung Fu. I don't remember. Where basically you have abilities, like you have an attack with a weapon, you have your gun, so you could shoot with that weapon, and then you have a dodge roll and a jump. And those are like the main base kit. And so you can dodge and attack, and it'll do a little thing. You can attack, or you could jump and attack, and it'll do a different little animation to it. But then if you do certain combos, so you'll say shoot twice and then press the Y button, you'll throw your weapon forward at them after shooting your gun and like do a big attack, and you'll like lunge at them. Or
That's cool.
if you like jump in the air and then shoot your gun, you'll do a little like somersault and be like this little somersault attack of your gun, which is super cool. So they have these little combos that you can do and you learn, but you have to put points into them to learn them, and you have to do that for each weapon that you get. And if you want to dual wield, you have to do points for that. If you have a giant, like what's called a crush weapon, which is like a blunt weapon, you have to put points into that. So it discourages experimentation with other weapons as you get them, because you're like, oh, now I have to level this up. And you're like, I don't even know if I want to do this, because I don't know if I like this play style. But I can't find out unless I spend my 2 resource points that I get each time I level up or find in the world. And you're like, okay, I guess I'll waste what could have been other perks that I could have bought into just so I could try this weapon. So it really upsets me that they went that route, because I feel like it could have been done cleaner. But combat is really cool once you get like to level 12, which sucks, because you start getting spells, you start getting more combos, you start getting more of a feel for the game, and it plays out very much like a Batman Arkham game, where you have like you'll see like the I'm gonna attack you indicator from each enemy as they're about to
parry system.
Right. So they have a parry system that you have. They have it where your character immediately locks onto something, and that's kind of where it goes. But there's like no change target. So you're kind of stuck. And the targeting system, especially when you're firing your gun, just like does not work half the time.
Yeah, I've heard that there's like no lock on really.
There's no lock on, and the game just decides what you want to lock on. So there's times where like I'll run backwards to then jump up and do my somersault, and he'll be like, I got you. And he'll shoot it just the wrong way, and I'm like, motherfucker, shoot the enemy. If you can't lock on, do it for me. So it gets a little frustrating, but it's one of those things where you kind of like, you understand the jank of it, and you're like, all right, I can't do a fast turn. I have to like jump up and look at the guy. Like, I can't just run away and do like a cool, like I'm somersaulting backwards and attacking you kind of a thing. Like it gets a little frustrating, but like you get used to it. And then as you start getting more of those abilities, you kind of get like a flow for what your combat style is that you want. So I think it is good. It's just, you have to get used to it. And I think from a progression standpoint, they kind of screwed up because it feels so boring until you get to that point of like the level 10, level 12, whatever, like high enough where you have a good amount of skills. Crafting system is super weird. Not really, but it's like, there's just so much shit. And it's one of those things where for me personally, that's not my thing. So I was just like, all right, whatever. Like I'll put some add-ons or whatever to my gear. I mean, every so
honestly, the one word that seems pretty much like across the board that everybody says about Biomutant is that it's bloated.
Yeah.
There's just too much.
There's so much.
In
There's
this game,
so much, dude.
Which I think is really interesting because before Biomutant was coming out, there was this narrative about it that's like, oh, Biomutant, it looks beautiful, it's amazing. This is what happens when you leave a game dev alone and you just let them make their vision, like what they want to do. And you're just like, okay, I mean, that's happened before. Like, let's be real. Fucking Kojima made Death Stranding, and I doubt PlayStation was like, you know what? You need to add some more walking. Like, you know? And this isn't the first time that a dev has been able to do whatever they want, but I think it's kind of interesting that it creates this kind of like love-hate relationship. There's like really, really deep valley on both sides. Yeah. It's very, very polarizing. And I think that's really interesting because it's like, this is actually really what happens when you leave a dev alone. Sure. And it's that quality of life changes that have happened slowly in the industry actually kind of fall to the wayside because you don't think about them when you're being like, when you're in the creative energy, when you have that, when you're like deep into it, when you have this tunnel vision. And I think eventually these things will probably be fixed with like patches in the game. But yeah, I just think that's so interesting to like actually kind of think about, I guess, in a way, like the meta narrative of this game, that it's just like, when you leave somebody alone to just be creative, they often forget why things were in place.
For sure. I will say that, I'll say a few more things and then we can wrap this up. But one, the developers have already stated that they're pushing for a big patch that will fix like most of the issues that people have brought up and like community feedback, which I'm super excited to see what that is. That'll probably be an update because this is one of those things where I'm complaining a lot, right? But it's not complaints of like the game is broken. It's things where I'm like, I wish they'd done this a little bit differently because I'm really enjoying the game. Right? Like
it's constructive criticism versus being shitting on it.
Yeah, it's like, this is a fun game. Like this is a solid, what people would say like a solid 7 out of 10, right? It's not like the greatest game. You're not gonna like, oh, this is so good. But like, it's a lot of fun. It's a good time sink. And I'm interested in seeing more because there's so much in it. But that's the thing, is there's so much in it, but it also feels empty at the same time, which I think is the reason why it feels bloated, is because there's content that's just there to be content in some situations where you're like, you could have just cut this part. You could have made this map a little bit smaller. You could have just cleaned up the tracking system to this. There's like little fine tuning that needs to be done. Now, one thing I will say at the end that I do not like about this game, that this part really irks me, and I understand why they went for this, because they're a smaller team, because it's easier to do, because it's a nice twist. I love games like Fallout for the dialogue, for the motion of talking to people, persuading people to talk your way out of battles, whatever it is. The conversations in this game are just awful. I don't like it, and I know why I don't like it. And it's because they took this very interesting approach of turning the narrator thing. The narrator translation is the worst idea. To give some context for people listening, every conversation is translated through a narrator. So he will say, "Oh, this character says thank you for helping his tribe, says that he needs help with blah, 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 says that he's glad you're here." And you're like, okay, that's great. And I think it's interesting. But one, it's a time just sink because you're like sitting there and you have to wait for someone to be like, and then he's like, says that you should help him. And you're like, bitch, could you just put that over like while they're like, why? Why are you making me wait so long for everything? And then the dialogue is like always 3 or 2 options. And it's like the most early age BioWare of like, let's kill them all to let's save them. And that's like your two choices. And you're like, I wonder which one is the good and the bad one. Right. And then you have the most annoying light versus dark characters that come up every so often to be like, anytime you do a light or dark action, they like come up to be like, light is great. And you get to choose like light is great or light isn't great. And you're like, what? I don't need this conversation. Like, let's speed this shit up. Like, it's just, it's so, those pieces, I'm like, fuck, man. I love the dialogue in these type of games. I love having those moments. I love having characters that you like bond with. But you don't feel any of that because you have these Habba Babba Babbas and then a translator. You feel nothing to these characters.
Yeah, these Habba Babba Babbas.
That's what I'll say. That's what I'll say on Biomutant. Too many Habba Babbas, 7 out of 10.
Oh my god. I mean, one of the things that and it's kind of weird that, okay, so I haven't played Biomutant, but the things I love about this game so far is like I said before, this kind of meta commentary that comes from this and this continued push for 7 out of 10s are not bad games.
No,
like
not at
just
all.
because it's not a 10 out of 10 does not mean it's a bad or broken game. And I love hearing people say that because it's so true. There are so many games that people pass up because they're not 10 out of 10s, but they're just amazing. The weird thing is, and I'm gonna be real about this, is that I feel like they're just saying it for themselves, and that sounds kind of weird. It's like the industry itself is this odd echo chamber where you hear like I swear they like IGN says it's bad, and then another place says it's good, and these two places argue with each other, and standard gamers are just playing fucking games. Like, they aren't the ones, like, normal gamers, the ones that we're kind of preaching to, in a sense, are not the ones saying that 7 out of 10s are shitty games.
No. There's like, if you look at the discourse on, like, some of those Reddit threads for Biomutant, there's a lot of people who love this game, who are having such a blast. Exactly. Like, it's just people have different opinions.
I think it's so weird that people are, like, basically getting on a soapbox and being like, a 7 out of 10 is not a bad game, and you're like, I get it, but you realize you're just preaching to your friends, right?
For sure.
There's like the people who are just like the standard gamer, the one, and I'm not even talking about like how we, for some reason, we try to section off gamers into different amounts of knowledge of the industry, when it's really just like, we all fucking love video games. Let's just get over it. Let's stop trying to create this hierarchy and make ourselves feel better about a hobby. It's like, they're like, oh, like normal people that play video games to have fun, that aren't pursuing it as a career, they're just enjoying video games. They don't give a shit if a game is a 7 out of 10, if it's a 6 out of 10. They pick up a game that they enjoy and they play it, and they are like, I don't care. Like, when I worked for GameStop, I met so many people who I would be like, oh yeah, reviews say that that's technically a bad game. Like, I don't know. And they'd play it and they'd be like, I love it. There's so many great things about this game. And I loved having those conversations. And then, like, of course, a game like Biomutant comes out and everybody acts like there's this huge fervor about everyone talking shit about it. And it's like, the only ones talking shit about it are the ones in the industry. Yeah. All the normal, like, basically, and I shouldn't say all, because that's like blanket statements, they leave out people. Right. Like, everyone falls through the crack in a blanket statement. But like, the standard gamers, like people who are just playing games to have fun, are not shitting on this game. Like, sure, they're going to be like, oh yeah, I mean,
too many Habba Babbas.
Sucks that you can't have, too many Habba Babbas. She's like, you can't log on or lock on. Like, they're gonna whine about that, but it's also like, the people in the industry aren't listening to them. Yeah, they're listening to each other. Like, I feel like that's often enough, kind of, and I'll get off my soapbox here in a second because I'm being a total hypocrite right now. But I feel like that's often something that we don't really take into account when we talk about video games, or we talk about the issues within video game culture, is actually what just the normal person who plays video games thinks about it. For sure. We instead think about the uber toxic, or we think about the other people in the industry, like our friends. We don't actually just think about the normal people. And normal is also a bad term, but I'm just using it because it's like for lack of a better term.
People who aren't ingrained in this culture.
Yeah. We don't think about the everyman. It's just like every man, woman, child, whatever. We don't think about just people who play video games to have fun, and they don't give a shit. Like, they might look at a review score, but I doubt that they're really, really influencing their purchasing decisions. But whatever. Like I said, I'll get off my soapbox about it. It's time for us to hop into our news stories. Our first news story is over on IGN. This is written by Liam Wiseman. That's a cool name. I'm gonna be real about that one. I wonder if that's their real name or if that's their stage name. You know what I mean? Like, is that your pen name? Is that it?
Real name is Liam Dumbman. Just had to change it, you know?
This is actually Liam Doolin. He just changed it because he wanted to separate between Nintendo Life and IGN. He's like, I gotta keep my fan bases separate because for some reason Nintendo Life just and boys don't like IGN.
What are you gonna do?
So this is Bloodstained Ritual of the Night sequel in development. Well-received Castlevania. Was it well received?
I mean, if you didn't play the Nintendo Switch,
if you didn't play on the Nintendo Switch,
yeah.
Well-received Castlevania homage. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night appears to be getting a sequel. Twitter's Wario64 indicated that a 505 Games financial document included a slide discussing Bloodstained and mentioned that a second version is in development, and that was like, if you aren't watching, those were air quotes.
Gotta give them quotes.
No further details have been announced at this time, but we've contacted 505 for comment. The document was released as part of a Digital Bros financial year result and announced a series of updates regarding the Bloodstained franchise, including that the series has sold more than 1 million copies, achieving revenue of 30.2 million euros, I believe is what that currency symbol is, but I still don't know. And a positive Metacritic average of 8.1. So I guess, you could say it's well received.
Yeah, just not on the Switch.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't really need to read the full article.
What is my blanket statement on this article? Please
head over to IGN and check out Liam Wiseman's wise words. But Big Josh Boy, how do you feel about this? The reason I wanted to bring this up is, do you think that if this game comes out on Nintendo Switch, people will be day one purchasers? Or do you think that they'll that sounds bad, but I'm legitimately curious about that.
I think yes, because here's the problem, right? This goes into the exact talk you just had about the normal person, the person who's not in this industry, the person who's not reading all these articles, the person who's not keeping up with the news and is just like, oh, it's a Castlevania-like game. I'll try it out. They'd probably still pick it up on the Switch. Think of how many people there are. There's so many people who don't know that Bloodstained was dog shit on the Nintendo Switch when it first came out. Like, there's going to be people who pick it up. But what I will say is 505 Games is probably going to have a little bit more interest in making it right the first time around.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think that there's going to be way more testing on the Nintendo Switch specifically this time around, and I think they'll be way more interested in making a complete port or like a complete version for the Nintendo Switch in general. Honestly, I think it's kind of weird that people are like seemingly surprised about Bloodstained Ritual of the Night getting a sequel, because it's like Curse of the Moon has gotten a sequel. Like, they've shown that they are ready and willing to make more Bloodstained games. Granted, I do not think the Ritual of the Night team is actually the same as the Curse of the Moon. I think technically it's I don't know about like Iga. I don't know if he's working on both technically. Fucker.
No idea.
Cord is stuck deep in my chair. But
having some new home struggles.
Yeah, I was like trying to get my headphones out because I put my PC down here because I didn't want to put it over there, so my desk fucking pushed out super far. But then I gotta plug my headphones in the like front port, and it's like behind me, and they're really short, and it gets lost in the folds of my blanket and chair.
That is the true struggle.
I'll figure it out.
I'm sure you will.
Don't you worry, Big Josh. But
let me go ahead. 1 second. So here's the thing. I'm not surprised at all that there is a second one. I think, why would you be?
Checks out.
It checks
Yeah,
out.
people liked it.
It was successful other than the Switch, but like it still got them publicity, so they're still coming out with stuff.
To be fair, it was successful on the Switch. It just did not work well on the Switch.
But
Two different things. It sold very well.
I know. But and that being said, they still kept working on it, and it also sold well in other areas. Like we've had articles about how this game has done well. Like we clearly were going to get something from the team, right? I think it makes sense. What I think is interesting is now, right, they've spent so much time on this. They spent so much time on the engine. Like, I wonder if it's just going to be kind of the same game with maybe a little bit of touch up and new story and new abilities and things like that. Because if that's the case, like, they'd be good, right? Like, it should be same engine, should run fine on the Switch by now after all of these patches. So I think I would like to say that they're probably in a much better position to release whatever is this second one and not have a big debacle.
I mean, I love that if you just take that logic and apply it to any other like long-standing franchise of video games, it really doesn't hold up, because it's like, think about all the Telltale games. They use the same engine over and over again, but still somehow those games were so fucked up so often. Like, did I ever tell you about how I was playing the Batman Telltale series, and there was one time where the only thing that spawned in for a guy was his eyes and mouth, and I just like saw them running in the background of the scene, horrifying. And I was like, what the fuck is that? Like, it was so terrifying. It was so funny too, because it was like a main focus of the scene was this guy, like Batman trips him and then punches him, and I was like, there's nothing there. Ah!
Oh my goodness. Batman,
it was awesome, but
Batman got that sixth sense. He knew. He was like, no invisible boy is gonna get in front of me.
No invisible. But no, I hope that you're right in them just like kind of like working on a new project within this engine, having already troubleshooted everything, means that we get a complete game, especially for the people who love this series. Like, I was talking to Will about it on my stream last night, about how like I wasn't a big fan of the combat itself. I thought the main character Miriam felt really sluggish. She felt really slow. Yeah. But that was my only like, I did like a first impressions for Handsome Phantom when it first came out, and that was my only like really big problem, was that she moved very slowly and weird. Yeah. And everything had a little bit too much weight. Like I've said before, there's a very fine line between weight and weightless, and you gotta hit it for me to feel comfortable in a 2D game. But I hope this works out. People love the Bloodstained franchise, even though I might not enjoy it a whole lot. People really love it, so I hope it does well. And speaking of doing well, let's move on to our second and last news story, at least that we're going to cover in depth. This one is over on GameSpot. It's written by James Carr with two R's. Dude, two. And it is Indie Expo Live 2021 will feature over 300 upcoming games on June 5th. Okay, seriously though?
That's too many.
I don't think that this is part of like the E3 celebration or anything, so wouldn't it be so funny? Seriously, so fucking hilarious. If, like, how there was all those news stories about how Hollow Knight Silksong was not going to be shown at E3. Baby. If it was shown at, like, the Indie Live Expo or just something else.
Yeah. You gotta fool them all. Be like,
I don't think it'll happen, but seriously, I would fucking laugh so hard if it did happen. It would just be so funny.
I mean, it would be the way to do it, to set expectations, like, straight, to be like, chill, people. Like, it's not here. And then be like, JK,
it's there.
We got you. We got you.
Fucking guy got you, bitch. And then just Team Cherry pops up and they're like, get got, bitch.
Maybe.
So another challenger approaches the current parade of live stream events of video games this summer. Indie Live Expo 2021 is planning to show over 300 upcoming indie games during its live stream on Saturday, June 5th at 2 a.m. PT and 5 a.m. ET. The Japan-based presentation will run for, I didn't know that. I didn't know
too long.
That's really cool.
It's too long.
That's really, is it?
It's 5 hours.
How long is it? Oh, fuck me.
It's too long.
That's not 5 hours, is it?
Yeah, the Japan-based presentation will run for 5 hours and feature games from known publishers like 505 Games and Playism.
Well, you obviously read faster than me because I did not get there yet.
It's the next sentence.
Yeah, I don't read ahead, Big Josh Boy. As well as up-and-coming developers and publishers. The stream will be available on Indie Live's YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter accounts with an English version of the stream. The stream will feature the newest games from Why So Serious, the publisher of Toho Luna Nights, which looks really cool. I've had it on my Steam wish list for a long time.
Luna Nights?
Yeah, Toho Luna Nights.
I've wanted to play that for so long, and I think it's on Game Pass. Oh man, we should do that for the book club,
now,
dude.
I'm not sure.
Book club?
Yeah, we are looking
Book club? People book
going
club?
for fucking downhill to like some
please.
really intense platform.
Yes, give me what I want.
I mean, that's what's nice about the book club is like these weird eclectic things. Now, if you are, I guess, a layman and you aren't a patron and you don't know what we're talking about, if you are a patron, you can actually currently access early. I'm going to just air quotes that one too. You get early access and you get the ability to send in your audio for our bi-monthly video game book clubs. I believe that's how you'd say that it's every other month, but that might mean twice a month. Yeah, I don't know.
No.
It's weird.
Well,
See, it just doesn't make sense.
It's fine.
The English language is fucking dumb, dude.
It's true.
It's stupid.
It's true.
It doesn't make any sense.
Bi-month
But,
thing.
yeah, I don't know.
Wait, you can use bi-monthly to mean both twice a month and every 2 months.
Dude, fucking eat shit. Our language sucks. Okay? We should all be speaking Mandarin. You know what I mean? Like, we need a new language for the future. Something more specific. I guess, well, actually, there's like a lot of variation in pretty much every language. I feel like it's just English is the easiest one to shit on because it's so fucking stupid.
We just gotta all
90% of it's slang.
Gotta all go back to Latin.
If only, you know? Like, it just, you know what? I'll go back to not only speaking Latin, but really just like adopting weird Latin things. Like, we no longer use like pictures. I'm not talking about you. No.
There's some weird things.
I was talking about amphors or whatever they're called. Like, they're the clay pots and stuff like that.
Of course.
That's as far as I'm going to go. We can
course.
also pee in buckets and stuff like that and have like weird public bathrooms.
I mean, that's what a porta potty
It's just a hole
is.
in the ground where we just dump out.
That's what a porta potty
but
is.
like, okay, here's the thing. It would be like a long porta potty, like a really long one.
Like a trough?
And I'd just sit next to you and I could like touch your thigh and be like, yeah, big Josh boy, you take that fat poopy. I'm going to get you there, big boy. You know what I mean?
I don't like this. I don't like this segment at all.
I'll give you that like red thigh, you know what I mean?
I don't like this at all. What are we talking about?
How we got here,
yeah, we're talking about
there will
Indie
also
Expo.
be a special segment from a number of sponsors like Sony Interactive Entertainment, Koch Media, I think it's just Coke Media, but fuck me, and Arc System Works. Microsoft will also host a special segment highlighting indie games on Xbox Game Pass. Honestly, reading, like, it kind of makes sense that it's 5 hours. Like, no,
there's a lot of stuff. Yeah,
but granted, 5 hours is definitely too long. I'm not gonna, that's like a TLDR thing. Like, I'm not gonna watch it. Fuck yeah, I will look at the roundup. I'll look at whatever comes out.
I feel bad for the person who has to write the roundup. The person who has to do the roundup, that's a big job.
That's true. I mean, they do get paid for it, though. So there you go.
I guess.
Granted, I mean, depending on what site they're writing it for, payments vary.
Yeah.
So hopefully they get paid. They're getting paid the big bucks for that one. You know what I mean? But I'm excited for this. I'm excited to see what comes out of it. 300 upcoming indie games coming June 5th, or just like knowledge of new indie games and new content for old indie games. This is exciting for me. I love that indie games are getting such a massive, especially because of COVID right now and kind of the sparse releases of AAA games. We are finally getting this really like upfront, front-facing indie games coverage. Really, really love it. I'm super glad that it's happening. Granted, I think when like after COVID and everybody starts putting out their games again, I think indie games are going to fall to the wayside, but hopefully this gets enough people into it immediately that they start following indie games. They might listen to Indie Pod. Or they subscribe to like YouTube channels. Like there's really great ones like Clemmy Games or Get Indie Gaming.
Get
stuff
Indie
like
Gaming
that.
is good, yeah.
I love Get Indie Gaming. They got that sweet ass like British voice. Did I ever tell you I tried to get them to come on the podcast once?
Really? Oh, why didn't they come?
Yeah, and they emailed me back about it. Well, it was just like, it was kind of weird. I was like, hey, do you want to guest on the podcast? And they were just like, we don't do podcasts. I was like, all right, whatever, that's cool. It was like when we first started though, so maybe I'll try again.
That's kind of rude.
Maybe they'll do something.
What is this? Like, did you change your opinion?
We'll see what happens. But I'm excited for all of this, but I think it's time for us to happen. News Cram. Also, did you see that I totally forgot to put in your jingle?
You motherfucker, the people wanted it.
Yeah, you even said it.
I yelled at you.
So funny.
Oh my.
I seriously, like, no joke. I was so focused on making sure that I got or I tried to fix the echo issue that I totally forgot. And then when I like exported it and I looked at the doc, I was like, oh shit, News Cram. And I skipped forward to listen to that part and you're like, Vaughn, you better put it in because people want it. And like at that point, I was like, I could put it in and export it again. But at this point, it's just too funny not to leave it out.
Oh my God. Why do you do this? Why are you like this?
This is like how I wanted to have a secret wedding and no one thought it was funny but me. Did I ever tell you about that?
No.
How I wanted to like basically get married and then like years later, like don't tell anybody, but my wife and I would be married. Years later, we have a wedding and then like basically like after our first dance or whatever, get on the mic and be like, BT dubs, we got married like 3 years ago. Like I just basically just shit on them, be like, fooled all of you. You suck. Like I just
it's a lot of money to have that elaborate joke
for a stupid ass joke. Yeah, I know. Just good stuff all around. But News Cram is our weekly wrap-up segment where we, the hosts of Indie Pod and Indie Games podcast, cram you full of all sorts of indie games news. This week in News Cram, we have a couple of quick news stories and a whole bunch of new stuff. No real new deals or quick steals, but let's be honest, there is sales happening all over currently. You got like the open world sale over on Steam. You got some stuff over on Humble Bundle. I mean, Humble Bundle is always having like publisher sales and stuff like that. So just check them out. The Epic Game Store is also having a pretty big sale right now, so I don't think it would be too hard to find some indie games that are on sale currently. You know what I mean? So our first quick news story for today comes by way of IGN, where it's reported that Metroidvania Axiom Verge 2 by Thomas Hap Games LLC has once again been delayed, this time into a Q3 2021 release window. But it's not all bad news, as we have been giving the making of documentary for Axiom Verge completely free of charge. Now, I was totally thrown off by this because I thought that this was a second documentary about the making of Axiom Verge 2. Mm-hmm. Seemingly, it is not. It is the documentary of the making of Axiom Verge, the original.
Okay.
And
cool.
And it's I've seen it. It came with my Axiom Verge like physical edition that I bought from, I believe, like IM8-bit or Limited Run. It's a good documentary. I enjoyed it. It's, I would say, like it's like a low budget documentary. Mm-hmm. It's not like I don't think it's like no clip kind of. It's not like that kind of like stature, I guess, of production quality, but it is still very, very good. Yeah. I enjoyed it. It's a lot about Thomas Hap and their kind of foray into their own independent game building while also being a father. It's very interesting. Cool. I liked it a lot. I'd recommend checking it out. It's just free online. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't check where, but I would just look up Axiom Verge.
we're so good.
I know, dude. It's so professional. Now over on GameSpot, where it's reported that Devolver Digital has announced the eventual release of 2 new free-to-play mobile games coming sometime later this year. Yet, that's all the release info that has been given. Sucks to suck, I guess. Now, on to a whole bunch of new stuff. Our first 5 items in new stuff come by way of Nintendo Life. where it's reported that 2D puzzle platformer Out of Line by Nerd Monkeys is headed to the Nintendo Switch and PC via Steam on June 23rd. That 2D platformer Super Magbot by Astral Pixel is heading to the Nintendo Switch and PC via Steam on June 22nd. That narrative adventure game Sumire by Game Tomo Team is now available on both the Nintendo Switch and PC via Steam. That adventure game Neocab by Chance Agency is getting a physical release on the Nintendo Switch through One Print Games and or on June 11th, with RPG Eternal Radiance and investigation game Paradise Killer set to receive the same treatment sometime later this year. They said in the coming months, so I'm just going to say that sometime later this year, but check it out if you're a fan of physical stuff. And lastly, that Metroidvania
Good try.
Inexistence Rebirth. Fuck me.
I know.
By January or by.
All right, let's take a breather here. We need to take a reset. Yeah. You could do this.
I'm just gonna go die real quick.
You could do it. You could do it. I believe in you.
I've got like a crawl space over there. Apparently, it's got some fat spiders. I'm just gonna hop down there.
Just right
get
down
the mummy. Like let scarabs crawl up into my skin. You know, just fucking some body horror shit. You know what I mean?
Right in it.
Okay.
Let's try it.
And lastly, that Metroidvania Inexistence Rebirth by Jonathan Brazard is headed to the Nintendo Switch on June 11th. Now over on Twinfinite, where it's reported that Wholesome management sim Spiritfarer by Thunder Lotus Games is getting a physical release on both the PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch on July 27th. Now over on IGN, where it's reported that Ion Lands, it's not Labs, it's Lands, by the way. On lands. Yeah.
Close though.
Developer of the cyberpunk delivery game Cloudpunk has just announced they're working on a new cyberpunk life sim called Nivalis, or something probably better. You know,
pronounced.
It's pronounced way differently.
Maybe it's fine.
Yeah, there are no concrete plans for the game's release. And to round out the group, over on GameSpot, it's reported that adorable puzzle game Chicory: A Colorful Tale by Greg Lobanov, Alexis Dean Jones, Lena Rain, Madeline Berger, and I'm assuming it's just Burger, but fuck,
probably.
Why not just do it anyway? And A Shell in the Pit. What?
I don't know. Interesting.
Is set to hit both PlayStations 4 and 5, Mac, and PC via Steam on June 10th. That puzzle game Grindstone by Capybara Games is now available on PC via the Epic Games Store. And lastly, that Prison Architect by Double 11 and Introversion Software is getting a new expansion titled Prison Architect Second Chances, which will focus on the rehabilitation of those who are incarcerated and will release on June 16th, which I think is a really interesting bit of political commentary, that like a game that's literally about just making prisons as shitty as possible.
Yeah.
Is like, let's actually make one that's about rehabilitating people instead of making them like lifelong criminals because of oppression, you know, just the fun stuff.
I mean, it's nice, but I do miss being a terrible person to the inmates. There's this one when I played Prison Architect with a buddy of mine, I consistently was the evil warden. And they would be like, oh no, a fight broke out. And I was like, is it fucking Andrew? Lock him up, 24. Like, I just caused every time he got out of solitary, I immediately put him back in. I was like, nope, get back right in.
It's just cruel and unusual punishment.
Yeah, it was great.
Do you ever wonder if like this all, you know, I'm just going to get weird for a second.
Oh, I mean,
this all, like, we live in a simulation right now that's basically trying to judge our worthiness as human beings, and video games are also a part of that, when it's like, it's like basically these, like, I don't know, godlike entities are just like, when given the chance, if they think that there's no actual consequence, humans will be gigantic pieces of shit. And then there's fucking good boys like me, you know? Good boys like me who refuse to make the renegade choices in Mass Effect. You know what I mean? Because it's heart of gold over here.
Get the hell out of here.
I never do anything rude. I'm not a piece of shit.
Every RPG, I usually start out being the good guy to get people on my side, and then about halfway through, I'm like, now it's time to make it a shift. Evil all the way.
All right. So Big Josh Boy, we've been blessed with so many amazing indie game news stories that it is time for us to get back to the creators. In our next segment, God Bless the Crowd, this is where the biggest of average Josh Boys hops into all sorts of crowdfunding sites, finds something awesome for us to talk about, and we do just so. This week, we are headed over to Kickstarter once again to talk about a game called Wanderlost, a wholesome meets post-apocalyptic, or what did I just...
It's just
Wholesome meets post-apocalyptic, a survival crafting RPG with deep systems, engaging real-life gameplay, and adorable creatures. Currently, the game, the developers were looking for $35,000. That was their goal. They have, as of the time of this recording, made $38,639. So, just gone. Just fucking way past the goal. With 952 backers and 24 days left to go. This is, I believe, a development project just by Eli Siegel, but it's possible that this is one of the things where it's like a solo developer, but also has help.
They say lead developer in their bio.
Okay.
So it's probably something where they have like a certain other developer, or there's other people working on assets, but they're more of like a part-time thing or whatnot. Like,
gotcha.
Probably, I would associate this as, some would say solo developer, but it's probably more just like they're the main person who's taking care of the game while there's other people who help out occasionally.
Yeah, I think in their meet the team is just about Eli.
Yeah. So it's probably just more of like contractors or helping out every so often.
Yeah, who knows? You'd think, I mean, that's a discussion for another day.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
This one is obviously going to run long because I'm just an idiot in general. But, Big Josh Boy, tell me, what do you think about Wanderlost?
It looks really cool. So I will admit, I've talked about this. Crafting games and survival games are not really my jam, but this one looks super cute. Like, I love the art style. I love the way it plays out. I think that the world, like, it's got that survival crafting element where it seems like it's simple enough for someone who doesn't care as much, but probably goes a little bit more complex if you cared to do that. And then the one reason that I really enjoyed this was because they start off, like, I really think they did a good job with the trailer, because they start off so natural and they're just like, yeah, just crafting, we're hunting for animals, we're getting meat. And then they're like, oh, by the way, zombies? And you're like, wait, what? And you're like, excuse me? And so there's just these zombies here. So now you're like, oh, the survival part is also in the fact that you're trying to fend for your life in a lot of ways, which I thought was
it's a zombie survival game.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. Like, I'm more into this now. Anytime I see these games, though, I won't lie, I always look at it and I'm like, could you just take that survival crafting part out and just let me play the game with the zombies and fight and stuff? Like, it's always my immediate thought, which, granted, that's just because that's me. Like, there's people who love this and want this. We talked about it before the podcast, you had some issues with some of the building, which I'm sure you'll talk about. But I think it's, once again, I talked about this, it has that like complexity, but also simple enough for a dum-dum like me who doesn't play games like this to just be like, put some tiles down, I'm done. Right? Like, I'm more okay with that type of building, because I'm just like, I don't want to have to think too hard about this. Just let me put a box down so I could have a house and then fight some zombies. But
yeah, I feel like it's much more of the vein of like a Don't Starve or a Forager versus like Ark Survival Evolved, which I'm not saying that that's like fucking top tier survival or like Rust, but they definitely go, I would say, like they try to take a much more like involved approach to the survival aspect of games.
For sure. I think it looks cool. I like all of the different creatures. I like that they have, the different not abilities, but different activities. You have your fishing, you have your hunting, you have your just general combat and fighting things. I like the fact that there's actual firearms in it, which I think is nuts, because it seems so wholesome. And then you're like, oh, but here's an AK-47, and you're like, what the hell? Like, the difference between the two is very strange. I don't know, like I said, that this is ever going to be the game for me. Like, I love it, but I never back it, because I just know I'm not going to play it, or that I'm not going to enjoy it as much as other people will. But I love the art style and I love the idea behind it. I think a lot of people will get a kick out of it, and they should check it out if this is their kind of jam.
Oh, so I did forget to say, to get in on the ground floor and actually get a copy of the game, they don't actually have any of the tiers, or at least maybe they were limited, where it's just like, oh, thank you. It's $20, and you get the Kickstarter backer title, a digital game copy on Steam, digital wallpapers, name in the credits, and the original soundtrack, which I would say is a pretty good deal for $20, because the game looks cool, and I would assume when it comes to platforms, it's going to be maybe like 25, 30, just a little bit more.
Yeah. So to talk a little bit about that, they did have an earlier tier, but it was a limit of 200 people. It was $15 to get the game. It's already gone now.
Yeah, the early bird.
Yeah, the early bird is gone. I will say, I'm pretty sure, let me check, because I think in the stretch goals, their stretch goals to get 2 consoles is 70K. So it's a pretty high goal before they get anywhere to what they say is controller support plus Switch release with Xbox and PlayStation release later. So I don't know this is coming consoles, depending on how it does. They still have plenty of time and they have the possibility to hit that 70K. But if they don't, I don't know that it's coming out other than on PC, at least based on their stretch goals here.
I mean, granted, this could be like, I feel like a lot of games that have like, I would say, in a sense, underperforming Kickstarters, where they put like a 70K like console goal. Typically, I would say after a while, after the actual launch of the game, if the game does well,
for sure,
easily will come to consoles, regardless of their Kickstarter thing being met.
Well, the only reason
I get what you mean.
Yeah, the only reason I bring that up is because there's a lot of people who will put money into this and then be like, oh, wait, I can't get it.
Yeah, I can't get it on any, I can't get that on the Nintendo Switch or anything like that.
Yeah. And so like, I hear you. I definitely think that, you know, if it does well, and I'm sure it will, like it's a very cute game. It
looks very good.
It looks like there's like the systems in it, I think look very fleshed out. I definitely think that if you're into this type of game, like you would want to play this. So I can't see this not doing, you know, reasonably well. But that being said, if they don't hit that goal, it will be very much we're going to come to PC first. We'll do it well enough to get some money to then put that into console ports and whatnot.
Yeah. So for me, I think the game looks really, really adorable. I really, really enjoy it. I'm a big fan of like zombies and zombie survival in general. I'm like one of those people who everyone's like, oh, zombies are just, they're done. Like, oh,
they're done.
Ruined it. Yeah, it's too many zombies. I'm like, no, dude, give me more fucking zombies. I love zombies. God.
They love
it. So I hope we get some more zombies, you know what I mean? But I enjoy the cutesy nature and its juxtaposition against like the undead. I think that's really, really cool. And I think it actually kind of lends to the idea of base building, because in most survival games, it's just like build a shelter and it's like, okay, I might as well just make a fucking hut. Like, what's the point of going any further than that? But this is like, okay, you have to defend not only against like the elements, but also against a horde of the undead. So okay. I mean, granted, in like Ark Survival Evolved, you have to, you know, protect yourself against fucking T-Rexes and shit, and like robo T-Rexes, but a little bit different. So I think the game looks really, really cool. The building thing that you were saying that I was talking about was that I'm not a huge fan of the like isometric point of view when it comes to base building, just because like I feel like it incentivizes you to either not put a roof on your buildings, or when you do put a roof, it makes it like that pseudo, like they kick the opacity to like 20%, and it just like you can see through it, but I feel like it still just kind of bothers me because you could see the roof. And I'm not a huge fan of it, but granted, I think the game looks fantastic. I honestly, like, if I had the money and this game was coming out, maybe like, I mean, it's May 2022, but when the game actually hits not consoles, but when the game actually releases, I think I'll probably invest in it because I think it looks really fun, especially because Big Boy's a ginger, even though he looks like a Craig and his name is apparently Bub. Big fucking ginger Craig here. He's looking good, you know what I mean? So I think the game looks really, really cute. I like a lot of the survival elements. Like you said, it seems a little bit more downplayed. And I would say, like, I like a lot of the... There's this game that I used to play. It's a Flash game called Last Stand. And they were just like these weird like zombie survival games. They got more and more intricate as they went on. I believe they were made like or published by Armor Games. But I really enjoyed them, and I love that this is like seemingly one of the main focuses of your base building is building traps for zombies. I love that. I think that's awesome. It's not just about building like this dope ass fucking castle. It's like, nah, dude, you're trying to build a fortress that zombies get stuck on. And I think that's really cool. Plus, the cutesy nature of it all is just really nice. There was one thing I saw that in their above their farming tag on the Kickstarter thing where he puts out the fire with a bucket of water. He doesn't actually dump the bucket of water or anything. It just like the fire goes out. But if you notice, if you look at the character, like their hair goes back and then there's just like seemingly the asset got stuck. And there's like an asset behind the actual character. It's very weird.
Well,
I don't know why.
Take it with a grain of salt because it's a Kickstarter, so it'll probably
changed.
Exactly.
Early in dev.
But yeah,
definitely that'll be something that's changed. It was just so weird that I saw. I was like, "What's up with your hair?"
Like, what is that?
But there's also fishing and stuff like that. And this is one of the few like isometric survival games that I feel like really tries hard to not make combat look weird, you know what I mean? Where they just like swing the swords above their heads like some Stardew Valley or Terraria shit. Like, not a big fan of that. Whereas this, like, granted, they've got the weird floating hands.
Yeah,
but I like it. I think it looks good. I like the game a lot. I think it looks really interesting. So, any last thoughts on Wanderlust? Because I was gonna say Wanderlust.
Oh yeah. No, I think we covered it. If this is your jam, give it a check.
All right. So once again, that is Wanderlost over Lost. Fuck me.
I know you keep saying it wrong.
I've said it wrong over and over again. It's over on Kickstarter. Check it out. Just follow us on IndiePod at IndiePod over on Twitter. I'll tweet about it. So it's time for us to hop into our listener questions. The Wombat Boy, as everybody else knows, Philip Renshaw, the Wombat Imp of Australia, writes in and says, length or girth, any context you like.
Why not both?
And of course, like, yeah, ¿por qué no los dos? You know?
Ooh,
like, what's up, dude?
That Espanol, baby. Oh, get me hot and bothered over here.
I speak el Spanish.
I can speak the Spanish, yeah.
So, length or girth, Big Josh boy? In whatever context you want. Let's be honest, the first thing I went to is penises. Sorry. It's just...
Yeah.
Had to.
I'd say girth, and I'm talking about sausages. Because I don't really, there's a lot of sausages I like, but I don't like the chewy skin of it. So I like more of that nice sausagey inside goodness. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you don't like the weird sausage casing? It's especially
some of them,
weird when you're like, this could be plastic, this could be intestine. Like,
some of them get it right where I'm like, this is good, and it like adds to it. And then others I'm like, I'm chewing plastic and I don't like it.
Yeah, I totally. That's why I like bratwurst so much, is because I feel like they like almost never have the like weird plasticky film. So yeah, definitely, that's a good one.
Thank you.
I mean, honestly, when I go for sausage, I shoot for patties. If I'm gonna be real, just because I feel like they're easier to eat.
I love
egg,
cheese, sausage bagels. That's my favorite. One of my favorite breakfasts.
I mean, I'd probably eat it without the egg. You know? Well, actually, okay, here's the thing. If it was like homemade, I feel like the egg would probably be really good. But like how you can get like the sausage egg McMuffin and stuff like that at like McDonald's, they just have dog shit
that
eggs.
Egg is like that's not real egg. It's like this weird patty of like just gross. I don't know. No, I go to
talk about fucking plastic. That's like they took one of the fucking kids' toys from the
and they just melt it down.
Yeah, hop it into the fryer. They're just like, I'm like, why is my egg purple? And they're like, it was a Grimace toy.
It was a Grimace. It's an egg. Don't worry about it. All right.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine. It's just chicken heart.
Don't even think it's fine.
It's fine. Yeah, no, I'm talking about when you go to
totally chicken.
It's totally chicken. It shouldn't be. It's an egg. I mean, I guess kind of.
It's like a chicken embryo.
Yeah. But would you really call it a chicken though? You'd call it an egg. You don't really, dude. You don't specify the animal.
You know
egg.
what I find really weird is that people think it's. People think it's really fucked up to eat that. Like, there's a delicacy where you eat, like, it's literally an egg. Like, it's a chicken was about to be, it's kind of like a stillborn chicken where there's like the bones and everything and you just eat it.
Oh.
People think that's fucked up, but they'll eat eggs. And you're like, you realize it's the same idea,
It's the same,
right?
yeah, same concept. It's just more time that they're waiting.
You're just like, you're letting it develop a little bit more, but like.
I mean, yeah, eating meat is, I mean, it's kind of fucked up, but it's too tasty to stop.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't like the logic that I just created because that was kind of like a pro-life argument, and I'm not gonna go into that.
For sure,
it's a little weird.
For sure,
I'm gonna retract that. It's all weird.
Yeah.
Never mind.
I'll go on mine. I think it's weird that we call eggs when it's like chickens who lay eggs. We're like, yes, we're eating eggs, but any other type of egg we specify. We're like quail eggs, and you're like, why is it that we only specify? Or we never specify chicken eggs.
You're never like, I'm eating a chicken egg.
Yeah.
And they're just like, no shit, it's a fucking
They're like, it's
egg.
an egg. Yeah. No.
They're like, I'm eating an ostrich egg. And they're like, oh.
They're like, oh, that's a big boy.
Ostrich. Okay. Yeah, I used to have an ostrich egg when I was a kid, and then our ferret ate it. Little piece of shit.
Well, hot damn.
So length or girth, dude, here's the thing. I gotta, like, me being a 5'8" thick boy, I gotta go with girth, you know, because like I'm not tall, I'm not well endowed, like I can't go for length in any sense, but like, you know what I mean? Like girth is where it's at. You get it.
Yeah,
get it.
fat cheeks, fat dong.
Exactly, dude. Exactly. So do you guys?
Man, you are fucking tongue tied today.
Dude, it's because my monitors are weird. It's like it's off to the side. It's very weird to me. I like
the new house struggles, baby.
Yeah, I feel like my eyes aren't adjusting. You know what I mean? But
yeah, I got you. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Do you guys ever buy games physically anymore, or is it all digital?
You gotta chill. Those eyes. I'll answer the question. No, it's all digital. The only time I'll buy physical stuff is if it in some way benefits me because there's like a real big discount on the physical goodie. Because like that's the only thing that pisses me off with digital is like if you're talking about like an Xbox or a PlayStation game or whatever, it's very rare that they're going to be on sale from a digital perspective. But physical, you go to like a Walmart or something, and they're like, it's $20 today for no reason. We just got so many. What are we gonna do? And you're like, what? How does this even happen? But okay, like that's the only time. But generally, I hate physical stuff because I love the idea of being able to just turn on my Xbox, turn on my Nintendo Switch, whatever it is, and just be like, I want to play that game and do none of that bullshit of like getting up, changing the CD, doing anything. Like it's a first world problem for sure. But like I love it. I don't want to give it up.
So my problem really is that like I love physical goodies, obviously. Boo. Yeah. Got my shit in the background. But like steel cases all the way. If something comes with a steel case, like how Best Buy, they will offer like, oh, if you buy the game, you get the steel case for free, or you get it for less because their steel cases are super overpriced sometimes. Sure. I totally love that shit. I love physical goodies. If I can get it physically, I will. But since I game primarily on my PC now, I don't really have the option because most PC games do not come out physically. And when they do, I don't have a disc drive on my PC because it just takes up room and it's fucking like no reason.
When they do, sometimes it's just a game case.
Digital codes anyway.
It's just a game case with a little cardboard piece that just has a game code on it that you download anyway. So, you know.
See, I don't have any problems with that. I like having the case. The case is what I buy a physical game for. I don't give a shit about the CD. Like, here's the thing. And part of your whole, like, stuff goes on sale when it's physical versus digital. I'm a big World of Warcraft fan. I love World of Warcraft. I buy every expansion, even though I never play enough to get to the expansions. Not even joking. I'm a fucking dumbass. But, like, I buy them physically because they do not have discs anymore. Or if they come with this, they also come with a digital code. Right. But they're always cheaper. Blizzard never puts them on sale. It's fucking obnoxious as shit. But like, exactly, I go to Walmart, every expansion, it's like $20 cheaper. And I'm like, fuck yeah, I'll buy World of Warcraft Legion. Let's go, dude. Hell yeah. Granted, I mean, I haven't been able to find the most recent expansion. I forget what it's called, but whatever. We're just moving on.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
I love physical stuff though. I adore physical stuff. I'd buy it more often than not, even though I actually find digital, the ease of use of digital is really, really nice. Like manga, love reading it on my PC. Love hitting up Shonen Jump, just reading it digitally, so much easier. But I love having the physical good. Even though it's so much more difficult to enjoy, I love it. It's easily top 10.
Good to know.
So, lastly, Phil asks, Vaughn, if you haven't talked about it already, how did the moving go for you? Excited to be in your own place. Did you miss doing IndiePod or were you too busy? So, first question, how did the moving go? It actually went really well. We got moved extremely quickly. Like it was very quick. Granted, like unpacking is taking a little while because we now moved into a house and it's like a 2-story house. So we're like, oh, don't know where everything is going. And like, I'll be honest, I'll be up in my bedroom and I'll be like, I know that's like that thing I'm looking for is in a box downstairs. I don't feel like walking down the stairs.
Never gonna get it.
Yeah, and it's like, I have to remember that's why you're gonna see this hoodie a lot in recordings, because I ain't going upstairs for another one. You know, this hoodie lives in my office now.
I have the same thing. That's why this one is here, just always strapped on my chair. I have the same feeling, and I know it's another one of those like first world problems of like, shut the fuck up. No one wants to hear this. But when we first moved in, we were used to a 1-bedroom apartment that was like, we were both kind of boxed in. We were stuck with each other.
Yeah.
And then we had this weird realization that we were like, I gotta walk like a good distance to get from one room to the other. Like, it's really strange.
Yeah, you're like, God, I fucking hate it. Oh, having all this space.
It's a real problem.
No, I really do. Moving went really, really smoothly. Granted, the people who owned our house that sold us this house left it in dog shit condition.
That sucks.
Like they left nails in the walls. They left huge holes in the walls. Everything that was in their backyard, not even joking. Actually, there was one thing we wanted. We were like, oh, it's okay if they leave that picnic table. But literally everything else that they had in their backyard, they just left.
Really?
They just left.
Damn.
Yeah, everything.
That's rough.
And it's like, there's just huge piles of wood. There was so much trash. Like there's all this weird gardening stuff where they have like, you know how, okay, so you have a dog. If you were to make a garden, you'd put kind of like pseudo chicken wire around it to keep them from trampling on it. Mm-hmm. They had a similar thing. It's not obnoxious or weird looking. It's like this kind of, I would say almost nice looking arches in like white wire, which I don't like. Like it doesn't look, it looks better than chicken wire, but we don't have dogs, so I don't need it.
Right. And
also, I don't give a shit about the plants. You know what I mean? I'm not a gardener. I got like a black thumb. I love trees, but the rest, fucking get out of here. You know what I mean? So they just left all of that shit. So we gotta eventually do something about that. And they just like left all their lawn ornaments in the front yard, which like it's like 1,000 turtles, which I like turtles, but that's too many fucking turtles, bro. Too many turtles. And they're like weird, like chimera, like turtle frogs. What's up with that? That's weird.
Interesting.
That's weird.
But did you miss me?
Went really well. Okay, yeah. So really excited to be in the new place, except for the crippling anxiety. And lastly, honestly, my life has felt so weird this week. Not having done a podcast. Like I seriously, like all week I had this like itching feeling at the back of my head. Like I forgot to do something. Like it felt so uncomfortable. Yeah. And I really did miss you, Big Josh boy. I did.
So sweet.
I missed you quite a bit. I like the routine. I'm a creature of habit and I like the routine of doing the podcast. And I think they're a lot of fun. So I'm excited to be back. Got my new room here. Gonna deck it out. Gonna get some lights and such. It's gonna be fun. This is gonna be awesome. But thank you for asking, Phil. You're amazing. Chase writes in and says, have you ever moved into a place and one of the rooms has 4,700,000? That's too many. Yeah. It's a lot of stickers. A lot of stickers on the ceiling. Chase says this because he actually helped me paint and I wasn't tall enough to reach the ceiling in my office and they left approximately over 4 million stickers in this room. So Chase went through and had to like peel all the stickers off the ceiling. And he had this like weird knowledge. He started developing this like encyclopedic knowledge of what sticker had more stick to get off of the other stickers. So he's like, man, this Saturn right here, it's got that good stick. And he's like trying to get it all off. And he's like, I might have to resort to the Kingdom. That's the big boy. That's the nuke. And he was like, had this weird knowledge of what stickers got stuff off easier. And I'm pretty sure there's a sticker that we missed and we just painted over it. Because there's no way that the fucking paint spots look like a star right there. But it's just right there. It's easily visible and it bothers the shit out of me.
No. That's so funny, dude. Yeah, I've never had anything like that. The most we had was in the little girl's room, because when we bought this house, the previous owners had a little girl, and I guess she had like put a bunch of stickers on one door, like in one specific spot, and they just neglected to take off those stickers. And I was like, what the fuck? Why did you do that? But it definitely wasn't 4 million. It did fuck up that door.
No, basically that same concept. All around the house.
Yeah.
Stickers everywhere. Literally everywhere. In every room.
I hate stickers.
In my bedroom right now, we have like vaulted ceilings. It's too high. There's stickers there. I don't think
how
I'll
did
ever
they
get them down.
how did they get there?
Yeah. I have no idea. It's like you had to get a ladder to put that sticker out there. A fucking tall ass ladder. It's a really high ceiling. Yeah. And they put the like glow in the dark star stickers.
Oh my God.
How did you do that? What? Shit's crazy. Fucking Inspector Gadget lived here, apparently.
Maybe.
This is just insane. But yes, I have done that. Thank you for helping me out, Chase. You're a good friend. Zach writes in and says, what is your favorite meal and who makes it best? So, Big Josh Boy, what's your favorite meal and who makes it best?
So I don't remember the exact restaurant, but it was in Italy, and it is gnocchi. And it was so good.
It's like dumpling soup, right? Or is it dumplings?
It's basically like potato, like dumplings. It's like these little potato. They're like not really potatoes because they're kind of like pasta, but they're just potato. Essentially,
yeah, I've gone to Olive Garden before. I've gotten that gnocchi soup.
I know the finer things in life. I've had Italian cuisine before. Dude, have I ever told you?
Honestly, the biggest realization was when my wife told me that somebody explained to her that Olive Garden is not fancy. It's the McDonald's of Italian restaurants. Dude. And I was like, fuck me, you got me, dude.
Italian food. There's so many dishes in Olive Garden that are just not Italian. Like fettuccine Alfredo, that is not Italian. Like, and most people are like, that's
like, it's Sicilian. And I'm like, I don't.
Like, yeah, like there's, oh man. But okay, so this gnocchi, so fucking good, dude. It had like the best cheese sauce. It was just, it was so, for the people in the Discord, I'll eventually put like a picture in there because it was like my favorite meal ever. Granted, I hate gnocchi otherwise. It was one of those things where it like blew my fucking mind. Like, I don't remember why we ordered it because I don't usually like gnocchi, but this one, like my wife and I were sharing 2 different pasta dishes, and I just like, it opened my eyes in so many ways. But now
I love the idea of like you not understanding what was on the menu, so you just pointed at something. You're like, nah. And they were like, okay.
The good thing is with Italian is it's very close language wise to Spanish. So a lot of words I just know by default from knowing basically like basic Spanish. And then my wife is fluent in Spanish, so she knows a lot of it too. So it worked out, is what I'm trying to say. But it would be interesting. I mean, there's some things where you do that, right? Because you're just like, you just see pictures and you're like, I want one of those because I don't know what it is, but it looks good.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you're like, I'm not going to ask what it is.
Yeah, it's probably for the best too.
Granted, I'm never that person. I'm not saying that from experience. Always have to know what it is. I'm like, do you have chicken strips?
You got. What about those? What about those chicken strips? I would like your
we have
finest
breaded calamari, and I'm like,
oh, calamari is so good, dude. You're like, I would love your finest Italian chicken strips. Please use heavy Italian spices on top. Have I ever told you my story about why I never go to Olive Garden anymore?
Because they don't offer chicken strips?
Because So I love fettuccine Alfredo, even though it's not Italian. And because I'm not going to Olive Garden for the finest Italian food, I'm going because normally because some family related member wants to go. And so I got dragged along. And so I got fettuccine Alfredo and I was eating it. And it was one of those moments where I put a couple noodles in my mouth and I started eating. And I was like, this noodle is really chewy. but it's like you don't want to be rude, because if you go like "Bleh," in the middle of like a family dinner, people are gonna be like, you're gross. So I was like
I don't know
chewing.
what you're talking about.
So-
Do that all the time.
Okay, well-
I literally just spit shit out. I don't give a fuck.
So I tried. It was one of those moments where I tried. I was like, I could get through this, and so I chew. And I was like, this is really weird. And I chew and chew. And to the point where I was like, no. And I just had to, I was like, excuse me. And I was like, "Bleh." And it was a big ass piece of plastic wrap.
Oh, yeah, you have actually told me this story.
So fucking, I was like, never again. And they're like, yeah, that happens sometimes because we keep the plastic wrap and then it'll go in there. And I was like, well, don't. Like, fuck.
Imagine eating plastic somewhere and they walk out and say, that happens sometimes. No!
I was like,
That's not an excuse. You don't get to say that happens sometimes. That's like when somebody eats a piece of glass and they're like, oh, sorry. We just had our kitchen like renovated. It's like, I just ate something I'm not supposed to. That's
dude.
your fault.
It was-
Fix it. What do you mean?
it was the weirdest feeling to eat plastic wrap covered in Alfredo sauce. It was so gross, dude.
Oh my God. No, I was trying to think of something. Yeah, I'm not shy about the whole spitting out the food, because here's the thing. There's two ideas in my head where I'm just like, oh yeah, this might gross somebody out if I spit this out. But then there's that second idea that it kind of like overpowers that, where it's like, I mean, is it more gross for me to spit this out, or is it more gross for me to throw up on them? Because I will throw up if I do not spit this out right now.
Yeah.
So you'll see me sometimes, if I hit a hard spot, I'll be chewing, I'll be like, and then just stop. And be like,
Oh my God.
and my wife would just, she doesn't even get fazed by it anymore. I'm just like a fucking toddler. I'm just like,
oh.
and then sometimes I'll just be like, I'm done. I just won't eat anymore.
Oh my God. Your palate is great.
Oh, it's so fucking stupid. For me, what's my favorite meal? It's not, damn, I've hit this mic like 75 times. New
okay.
setup is totally throwing me off.
I know. You'll get there.
So my favorite meal, I would say that's kind of a hard one. I really like chicken strips.
I know. That's what I'm waiting for. Is who makes the best chicken fingers here?
Oh, okay. So currently, I would say if I had to like rate chicken strips, I would say
Seems
that,
like a good episode for us to do as a special episode.
Exactly. Yeah. If I'm gonna rate some chicken strips, I would say that. Where did we go? Longhorn Steakhouse. Prime chicken strips. They got good chicken strips. And it's so funny because like my father-in-law is like a pseudo man's man. Like he worked in construction. He hunts. Like he kind of like he
must love
almost stereotypically fits like gender roles.
Yeah.
And granted he has emotions. Because that's like outside of what I guess we're expected in America. Yeah. But he's like that kind of a guy, and he loves steak. And we went to like, it was the first time I'd ever gone to Longhorn Steakhouse, and he and my wife ordered these like juicy steaks. My mother-in-law also orders like a pretty big steak. They're like, oh yeah, I've heard they go pretty heavy with the seasoning, so we'll ask for like light seasoning or whatever. Right. And then me and my brother-in-law, who is like, he was like 10. We're both like, I mean, I think he actually got like a surf and turf platter, and I was like, can I get the chicken strips, please? And my father-in-law was just like, he was so done. He was like, are you seriously just getting fucking chicken strips, bro? And I was like, you knew that I was going to get chicken strips. Like wherever I go, I get chicken strips if they have chicken strips. It's just what they do. So Longhorn Steakhouse got some good chicken strips, especially because they go the heavy with the seasoning, because I'm a salty boy. I like salt in my diet, you know? Like there's a reason I always look bloated and retaining water. It's because I eat a lot of salt. Yeah. So love me some shit. I'm going to die of like a heart attack, guaranteed. Oh man, I'm going to get heart disease.
That'll be a sad day.
Because
I'm not gonna keep running this podcast if you drop.
Okay, here we'll have to make a deal. We'll pinky promise through the internet right now. If I die on one of these podcasts, you have to edit and upload it. You have to put out the episode.
How would I? What am I gonna? I don't know. I don't know your wife. I'm gonna text your wife.
I'll tell my wife. I'll be
Okay.
like, hey,
All right.
I'll put it in my will.
Yeah. Okay.
Like my last will and testament, I will be like, either my wife or my children, if I die
Have to
creating a piece
upload.
of content, you have to upload it, and whoever my partner is at that time has to put it up. Has to edit it and put it up. I want my death to be immortalized on the internet.
I'm pretty sure there's certain rules that don't allow for that.
We can just say it's fake. It's
Staged.
We'd be like, YouTube, no, it was like a fake heart attack. But then like they'll like look up my fucking obit and they're like, he really died.
Be like it was unrelated. It was something right after.
Yeah, he like shit himself. He went
It's
full
so,
Elvis.
It's
like,
so
it's fine.
funny that you went there because that's exactly what I was thinking of.
So chicken strips would probably be my favorite food. Top like a sec. There's like, I would say the chicken strips, definitely top tier favorite foods. Also like poutine, love me some poutine, but with like, I don't want to say real cheese curds because I feel like the cheese itself, like the cheese curd, when it's not breaded, gets really gummy and weird. I like it when it's breaded. And then chili cheese fries. Fucking, ooh. But it just depends on where you get them because I've gotten chili cheese fries at like a bunch of different places. Some people like Longhorn Steakhouse. They had good chili cheese fries. Like they weren't great. They were like, whatever. The cheese was weird. Red Robin, bad chili cheese fries. Not good. Not good. You know what was weird? Fucking Carl's Jr., I guess Hardee's, wherever you are. They had some pretty top tier chili cheese fries. They were pretty good. Even though I'm pretty sure the thing they called chili, mystery meat. It could have been human. I wouldn't have known. I'm probably a cannibal, you know?
Maybe.
Between all the like, just like white meat I eat, and stuff like that, I've probably eaten people, you know? So Zach also writes in and says, also Josh, since you are from Florida, have you ever listened to Magic City Hippies, psychedelic pop band from Miami? They are one of my favorites. Have you ever listened to Magic City Hippies?
I have not, and it's a shame because I started listening to them while I was playing some Isaac last night, and I was really jamming to it. They're good. Like, it's pretty legit music. I don't know. It fits my style of music right now, I guess, which is a very like chill, but it kind of reminds me of like a more, I guess, like in some ways it reminds me of a certain style of what's that one? The one where it's like the Gorillas, right? Where it's like the characters. Yeah. It reminds me a lot of them, but a much more like mellow-ish version of it. I dig it. It's really good.
Okay. And then there's that gorilla song that's like, Sunshine in a bag. It's the worst fucking song. I don't know why everybody likes it.
You don't like Sunshine in a Bag?
It's fucking dog shit.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
literally the worst song I've ever heard.
Oh my goodness. There's some strong
It's
opinions.
fucking dog shit.
Oh.
I hate it so much.
Whoa.
Especially because when I worked at
Whoa.
GameStop, that song came out, and one of my employees, like he was a friend of mine, but he showed me this version of it where it was just on loop. It was like, I got sunshine in a bed, sunshine in a bed, and it just kept saying it over and over again. I was like, can I just kill myself?
I mean, okay.
This is preferable to what's happening in my life right now. Like,
Well, I think
fucking done.
I think you would enjoy Magic City Hippies though. They don't have a song like that. Oh my gosh. Are you okay?
I
Jesus.
just died.
It's not that.
Yeah,
It's not
remember, you got to upload it.
that. I guess so.
So I mean, I haven't listened to the Magic City Hippies either, but I love that we have, like, because of the indie pod community, I've been introduced to like a bunch of different music that I never would have listened to before. So I really, really appreciate it. It's awesome. But that is our last listener question, and that is the end of this episode. So thank you everyone so much for listening to this week's episode.
Why not end it with being tongue tied as well? It seems to be this episode's theme. Let's just let's trip over all our words, shall we?
I mean, I was talking on my stream last night about how I enjoy that I've cultivated an image for myself within content that, like, I'm a shit person and I'm bad at video games, and that, like, also I just can't read because it's just like, you
Reading's
never
tough.
expect more from me, you know?
It's true. When you
It's
get
just
it
great.
when you get it right, it's that like, oh,
Everyone's surprised.
Vaughn's
like,
doing
okay,
good. Look at him go. Look at
okay.
that boy. He can read.
Yeah. And then I'm like, they expect me to make mistakes, which I really enjoy, you know?
It's nice.
Nobody's perfect.
It's nice having very little pressure.
Yeah, exactly. It's good. It's good. So that's the end of this episode. Thanks everyone so much for listening. If you would like to chat with us outside of the show, be sure to follow us at IndiePod over on Twitter for notifications of when episodes go live, especially developer interviews. Be sure to check them out. They're awesome. Go live every Wednesday. We have our question tweets that we put up and just regular indie game news that we make sure to retweet. A lot of awesome indie games are in development, and I really love popping into that feed because there's just so much awesome stuff. So be sure to follow us at IndiePod over on Twitter. I go like a burp, like in my lungs. Okay, we're good.
Very nice.
You can follow me, Vaughn, at Hyde Legion. That's HYDELEGION for all of my like anime, hot take, I don't know, just all my dumb bullshit over on Twitter. You can check out my Twitch channel where I stream every Saturday and Sunday from 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. Just Souls-like games. Currently, I'm playing Neo, just straight up sucking at it. It's a lot of fun.
Is it?
That is twitch.tv/Hyde Legion. It can be really fun. You know, when people aren't like, okay, there's a difference between like shitting on somebody, like everyone's having fun. And then there's just the like, why don't you do this? Like, why don't you get better at this game? And it's just like, is that really what you're here for? You know, I'm bad at video games. Like, why are you here to tell me? Like, there's a difference between backseating and helping somebody, I would say. And I've experienced both so far. It's very interesting. But please check those Twitch streams out. And of course, you can follow Josh over on Twitter at @the_George90. Be sure to also check out his sporadic Twitch streams. You do the Thursday like demos, right? That's when you do that, or is it Tuesdays?
I do, yeah, Thursdays I do demos, which I didn't get to do last week, but I have a pretty fun-looking game coming up. Oh, what is the name? That just dropped a demo called Little Ghost. Looks interesting. I like the art style to it. But yeah, so I'll be doing that this Thursday. And Tuesday is just a whatever day, whatever I'm feeling. Usually Isaac, but I played Ring of Pain last time, tried out some new content. So it's just a whatever day.
All right, and that is over at twitch.tv/the_George. So be sure to check all of that out. Lastly, got to go through our housekeeping one more time before we're off. Please check out our developer interview from Blasted Realm. They're talking about their game called Rise of the Betrayer. That goes live on the June 2nd, so be sure to check that out, please. It is 1 day after for patrons, 2 days before for plebes, so please check that one out. Check out the IndiePod store over on Teespring for t-shirts and stickers, soon to be more merchandise. Please head over to our YouTube channel, which is just IndiePod over on YouTube for these video episodes. You can see me, I don't know, do all my dumb shit. And please leave us reviews on any sort of source in which you could do so, specifically iTunes. Supposedly helps us out a lot. I don't know. And lastly, thank you so much to all of our patrons at the $3 tier or higher. But once again, anybody who gives us money at any amount is amazing. Thank you so much for doing so. But I made a commitment to the $3 peeps, so they get their names. We've got John. Just John. That's it. We'll see Mixamatosis, aka Mix, Zach Durham, Chase Hopkins, Phil Pritchard, the one better of Australia, Chris Penwell, I was drinking tea, Josh Nichols, aka Active Josh, and Sam Fillion from Canada. Thank you all so much. You're all amazing. That is the end of this episode, and we will talk to you all next week.
Bye, y'all.